Welcome back to the morning show here on Rise News. Despite President William Ruto's government's dramatic U-turn on legislation that would have raised taxes, demonstrations continued on Thursday across Kenya, with the Kenya police firing tear gas and rubber bullets to disperse demonstrators who rallied in another day of protest. However, the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, KNCHR, said it has credible reports of the use of live bullets on civilian protesters, resulting in some deaths. While the local media reported that some protesters in Homa Bay town were taken to a local hospital after sustaining gunshot wounds from the Kenyan security forces. Joining us now on the show from Kenya is Achieng Otieno, a Kenyan human rights activist. He'll be joined by Hassan Mahmud, a Kenyan lawyer and human rights activist. Good morning and welcome to the morning show.
Good morning.
Gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Well, there's this quote that's been going around. The IMF doesn't put out fires, it starts them. Do you think that the IMF has started fires in Kenya and should be held responsible? And then this talk about Ruto must go. It looks like the thing has gone beyond taxation now to a position on the Ruto government. What do you think? Let's go with you first, Achieng Otieno.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me on the show. And while it's been quite an interesting turn of events, indeed the popular opinion, particularly among the protesters, is that IMF is the one that sort of defined the kind of finance bill that we are talking that protesters are protesting against. So according to the large population of the protesters, they're looking at it as an IMF sort of induced bill. And that's why there are certain pronouncements that to the effect of what you just say, that IMF is the one starting the fire and fueling the fire. Yeah.
Well, Mahmud, what do you think? They say Ruto must go. Should he go?
Thank you so much for this opportunity to come on your station. Indeed, the conversation is more than just the issue of whether the president should go or not. To me, the point should be what issues have the people of Kenya raised, and what is the government going to do to try and address those problems. You know, during this protest, people have talked about the issue of punitive taxes being put in place, and so those punitive taxes lead to a situation where a majority of the citizens feel that they're not able to they're not able to get or to buy or to purchase the items that are there in the market. And so the president has also given, in his own speech yesterday, he gave a way forward, and one of the way forwards was to engage the youth, and the other thing was to try and see how best they are able to cut on some of the taxes, or reduce on the expenditures in order to meet some of the obligations as a government. So that should be the focus right now, and to see whether the government is going to implement some of the things that they have actually, some of the items that the president has actually put in his speech. Yes.
Hi to you both. In my introduction earlier, I talked about concerns around human rights violation, especially with regards to live bullets being shot with at the protesters. What has been your findings, and then what will be the way forward? Would you be representing the people to take this further legally in terms of accountability by this government, such that we've seen the number of deaths have occurred as a result of this? I'll start with the Achieng, and then Hassan, you can also come in as well.
Yeah, indeed it has been very unfortunate that people have lost lives, and in fact a number of people have lost lives, and it has been documented. In fact, even from yesterday's speech by the president, he acknowledged that there are people who lost lives. The numbers, we are still not sure. And as lobby groups, we are sort of trying to monitor and also doing our surveys on the ground, just to see the magnitude of fatalities and particularly the people who lost lives during this protest. Maybe from there we will be able to determine the way forward. And in fact, there's a good faith that has been extended by the president owing to his speech yesterday, which alluded to the fact that each and every person will be, they will take note of each and every person who lost life. And based on that, we also want to look at what direction the government wants to take, particularly in terms of accounting for the lives that have been lost. In case there'll be any need for legal action to be taken, I'm sure the legal team that within the country will be able to take it forward. But at the moment, we are still monitoring and trying to document the cases that have been recorded.
Okay.
All right, Hassan? Hassan, can you hear us?
If you look at our constitution, yes, you can hear you.
Please go on.
If you look at our constitution under Article 37, it guarantees or gives the people of Kenya the right to peacefully, assemble, to demonstrate, and even to petition the government agencies on what they feel is not happening and that they want to be done. That being the case, while they're supposed to go out on demonstration, the security agencies and the government have a responsibility of ensuring that while Kenyans are demonstrating, they do not use excessive force that leads to arbitrary loss of life and all that. The group of lawyers, that is the Law Society of Kenya, has actually come out strongly, and even the Kenya National Human Rights Commission have come in strongly to oppose what the government has been doing. But again, the Law Society of Kenya is saying it will offer pro bono services to those who have been affected, and therefore you get to see that even the legal professional body, they have come out, they've come out strongly just to assist those who have been affected by this. So moving forward, we are yet to see what will happen, but I'm sure the profession is there to assist those who may have any problems with legal representation. Yes.
Okay, so for both of you now, Ruto has thrown the challenge back to the young people and stakeholders. He says we must find a way to be able to still sort out the debt problem. So what ways are you looking at? If you say you don't want to increase in taxes, what are the other ways?
Yeah, interesting. According to the good faith that was extended by the president yesterday, one of the things that he already ushered in was a national dialogue on how the tax and the debt burden is going to be addressed. And there are quite a number of issues that are already coming up. We see from the president's speech, he already talked about austerity measures that the government is intending to take. He also mentioned things to do with budget cuts, particularly within the county governments and government offices, and there are certain intended renovations that rose a lot of uproar from the public have also been suspended. We see this as ways in which the government is sort of trying to respond to the public uproar, particularly in terms of government spending and prioritization of issues when it comes to government spending. When you look, particularly at the moment, majority of Kenyans are looking to the finance bill of 2023, which we believe is still operational, although the government financial year is sort of ending in this month. But we are still looking at the tax measures that were already put in place, and when you look at it from the lobby group point of view, we are trying to look at avenues in which the government can still put in measures to curtail corruption that is still bedeviling the government, wastages that are still within the government. And there are certain positions that, according to our courts, were declared unconstitutional, and we still have people who are still occupying those offices and who are still on salary and that are being financed by the public. So these are some of the areas that we are still looking at. Avenues that are still going to raise a lot of suspicion and are still going to raise a lot of noise from the public. But at the moment, we are positive. We are trying to see whether the national dialogue will take foot, and I believe through concerted effort, we are going to have like a way forward to address the debt burden, to address the government wastages, and to address the corruption issues that are within the government.
Okay, so I mean, you guys have not told me how you're going to block the deficit. You want to try, you sir? How are you going to block the deficit now in Kenya since you don't want taxes?
I think the president has been very categorical in his speech, and one of the issues that he's brought out clear is the issue of the austerity measures, cutting down the budget on transport, some of the expenditures that are in the presidency, just to make sure that we bring down the expenditure, but also appreciating the fact that some of the developments that were to be done through the 2024 finance bill can now not be done, and therefore they have to be pushed until the government is able to get money that will be allocated towards those programs. However, there's still much to be done. You know, we have structures, so many structures within government that some of them are not. You would say it's a repetition, or it's redundant to say the least that needs to be done away with, and that will further help us in reducing the expenditure for the country, and hence a lot of money can go back to the people of Kenya, and they feel as if they get the benefit for what the government is doing in the country.
Well,
yes.
Thank you very much. Hassan Mahmud and Achieng Otieno joining us from Nairobi, Kenya.